Friendsful TV, and it's your election eye. I want to give you all a warm welcome. Today, I'll be doing this with two gentlemen, and I'd like these gentlemen to introduce themselves.
Thank you once again for having me on Friendsful TV. Like I always say, it is a big privilege to be here to express my views and also analyze issues as well. Thank you.
Delve into issues we are going to discuss today. Today, we'll be looking at both manifestos delivered by the NPP and then the NDC. Specifically, we are looking at the educational sector and then agriculture, and then we have some other issues to talk as well. Now, pertaining education, the free SHS policy has been one of the major political ambition accomplished by the New Patriotic Party, and it's already ongoing. And then when they are voted into power again, so they are going to absorb PEC and WASI examination fee, collaborate with private sector to provide free Wi-Fi coverage for senior high schools and then tertiary institutions. Now we have to collaborate because the nation does not have any telecommunication network, so we definitely need to collaborate with the private sector and implement free SHS policy on a universal basis that are going to include a technical, vocational, and education training. Absorb payment of utilities by students, so some students in tertiary institutions pay utility bills. Improve ICT facilities and curriculum of ICT. So as a way of improving this, they are going to distribute free tablets to students. We wonder if the distribution of tablets is very necessary. This has been a key point for my discussion, especially when I hear free things going to be delivered, I begin to worry. Let us look at what the National Democratic Congress also said. Expand the free SHS policy to all schools. That is, they are going to include the private senior high schools in the free SHS policy. Abolish double track system. Absorb 50% of fees for tertiary students in the 2020-2021 academic year, which means that this is not for everyone. Not everyone is going to be a beneficiary of this, but only for those is coming fresh for the 2020 and then 2021 academic year. Kindly take note of that too. Establish free Wi-Fi zones in all public and private tertiary institutions. So whilst the NDC said they are going to provide free Wi-Fi for senior high schools and tertiary institutions, the NDC is also saying that they are going to provide for tertiary institutions in all for tertiary institutions, both private and then government as well. Provide free laptops for tertiary students to facilitate the participation in virtual classes. So we wonder if these are very necessary. Now, pertaining to education, I would like my fine gentlemen to express their views on some decisions made by the NPP and then the NDC. So, Caleb, I want you to kindly tackle this for me. So, do senior high schools need tablets? Do you think that our senior high school students need tablets from the government?
Quite welcoming in a sense that it will go a very long way to assist the teaching and learning in senior high schools as well, since it will be given to teachers and students as well. But I always say that sometimes some promises that are given or set by some parties are just to lure the electorate to vote for them, in the sense that we all know in part of our country where let's say in our rural areas, some areas don't have electricity, some areas don't have access to internet as well. So given this tablets, how are they going to use it? Or are we saying these tablets are not going to reach the deprived areas in our countries? They are only going to be given to students in the so-called city schools. So it's quite worrying in a sense that it will help and then also probably some people will not get access to it. And in the sense of it getting into the pockets of students, or maybe students taking them home or something, I feel, I'm not sure these tablets would be like the normal phone tablets or the normal tablets we have that can use SIM cards or other things. I feel these would be built specifically for academic purposes.
This too as well. How will the abolition of payment of utility bills by students affect the lives of students? Will this decrease the amount of fees paid by tertiary institutions? So we are really concerned about the decrement of fees that is going to be made if some of these free policies are implemented. But as I said earlier, the fees have been increased by some tertiary institutions.
Abolishing utility fees in the universities will go a very long way to affect the lives of students, in a sense that utility fees are mostly expensive, or let me say higher than actual school fees or tuition fees. So it will go a long way in the lives of the students and then their parents as well, in a sense that the fees would be decreased, the fees would be reduced, and then probably the large sums of monies that were being channeled into the fees would now be channeled into the pockets of students to also have better livelihoods whilst on campus or whilst in school, and then as well help the parents as well, because monies that they used to paying huge sums of monies into school coffers would decrease.
Concerning the double track system, or concerning the abolition of double track system as proposed by the National Democratic Congress, Caleb, I want you to touch on this. Do you think that the National Democratic Congress has what it takes, or do you think that the nation has what it takes to abolish this double track system as proposed by the NDC?
So based on the NDC manifesto proposing to include private senior high schools and then private technical or second cycle institutions into the free SHS program, I feel it will also help to abolish the double track system, in a sense that huge numbers that are being pushed into the public schools will now be reduced, so the private schools can also take quite a number of them, and then the other second cycle institutions that are also private can also take a number of them. And aside that, or still based on the NDC manifesto, there are 10 billion big push into infrastructural development can also go a long way, provided new senior high schools are built, provided facilities of old senior high schools are upgraded. I feel based on their manifesto, if executed as proposed, I feel the NDC government can abolish the double track system in the country.
Let us stay a bit more on education. How welcome is the promise of paying 50% of fees for tertiary students for the 2020-2021 academic year? Will just persuade more votes for the National Democratic Congress, because as stated earlier, they are going to maintain the free SHS policy and then extend it to private schools as well. So if they are going to maintain and extend, and then going to have 50% slash of fees by 2020-2021 academic year for tertiary students, will just persuade more votes for the NDC.
It is very interesting to know that in our current situation as Ghanaians, those who tend to lead us always promise us with freebies or giving free this, free bonuses, free that, and it's quite interesting. You ask why, and then maybe it could be we are also probably benefiting from our resources, and then probably getting to the point where our leaders are being responsible. On the issue of the 50% reduction of fees for tertiary institutions, honestly, I feel it will persuade people to vote for the NDC, in the sense that the 2016 general elections, it was realized that most of the non-working class voted for the Akufo-Addo party because, or the NPP, because he promised jobs, he promised the one district, one factory. So they tend to have faith in him and then voted for him massively to provide these jobs for the people or for them. And then these non-working class, majority of them were these graduates from these tertiary institutions where they formed organizations and then a whole lot. So giving tertiary institutions 50% of their fees, I feel it will go a very long way to persuade people to vote for them, persuade the students, and then probably persuade those going into the tertiary institutions, and also the parents of students currently in the tertiary institutions, and then parents of students who intend going to these tertiary institutions. So I feel it will go a very long way to persuade votes. And then, like I said earlier, it's realized that students tend to vote for parties that have policies that benefits them. Yes.
So, moving away from education, let us now delve into agriculture. Agriculture is the heartbeat of the nation. Yes, we cannot do without agriculture. Let us see some promises made by the new patriotic party in the agricultural sector. Now, increase local production of food to enhance food security, upgrade road infrastructure connecting farming communities and market centers. I wonder why this has been a problem for decades, but we always find the answer in social studies textbook if it is social studies. Implement one village, one dam, or and then establish community-owned irrigation policy, and then rehabilitate scheme and develop new ones in the north and Afram place. Use government purchasing power to create demand for locally produced food items. Expand local processing of cocoa. Thus, the local processing of cocoa has increased from 27% to 40%. That is what the new patriotic party has to offer Ghanaians, some of the major promises made in terms of agriculture. Now, let us see what the National Democratic Congress has to say. Provide free health care for cocoa farmers. Ensure the consistent annual increment of the cocoa price to make cocoa farming more attractive, especially to the youth. Work with poultry farmers association to increase capacity to meet domestic market demand and for export as well. So they are saying they are going to get more poultry to meet our local demands, and then we are going to export. But as for poultry is one of the key areas to also look at, because we always eat chicken, and then most of our chickens are cold store. You realize that we import more than we export. Construct irrigation dams across the country. Establish modern fish markets and cold stores along major fish landing sites. So these are some of the key promises made by the National Democratic Congress as well. So then let us express our options, let us express our views. We stay on agriculture. Do you think that the new patriotic party has done a very great job in terms of agriculture? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you going to rate them and why? But let me say this, that in terms of agriculture, this government has done very well, especially with the production of local rice. We realized that at a point they exceeded their target, and then there were enough rice that there were no enough buyers to come and buy this rice. So it's a plus for them. But then on a scale of 1 to 10, how will you rate them?
So the MPP on agriculture actually did very well, introducing flagship programs such as the planting for food and jobs and then the rearing for food and jobs, provided employment for citizens, and also give relief to citizens. Relief in the sense that there was availability of food, and then food wasn't scarce and then expensive. Food commodities became very cheap on our markets, and then for the first time in a while, the country was able to export maize and other cereals to neighboring countries, which also gave the country some income. So honestly, I feel the NPP government need to be applauded, but these programs had shortcomings in a sense that foods that were produced in abundance couldn't be preserved because of not having preservation facilities, and also factories to process them and preserve them better as well. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give the NPP government 6/10.
Now let us move away from agriculture as well. Now let us stay a bit longer on the Okada saga, or the Okada issue, where the former president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, said in the manifesto of the National Democratic Congress that when re-elected, they are going to regulate the use of Okada in the country, and then this has made this according to him, is going to serve as a source of employment, because as it is now, there is no law that is banning Okada from being used in the country, and then there is no law that is also accommodating the Okada. So the Okada is somewhere in the middle, because there's no law against it and then there's no law for it. The National Democratic Congress said that when re-elected into power, they are going to regulate it. But then, fine gentlemen, kindly, do you think that the country has what it takes to control and regulate the use of Okada? Do you think that we have what it takes to control and regulate it? Because we know how dangerous it is, especially without an helmet. When you crash and you get an accident, your chances of dying are very high. And we know how dangerous it is, and then how people use it for theft. So motorbikes are normally used for theft rather than vehicles, especially at night. You can easily be robbed on a motorbike. So government, when the new government comes into power, will they have that capacity to regulate it?
So legalizing the Okada business in the country is very questionable, in the sense that these people who practice this illegal act say they don't have jobs, hence the practice of Okada in the country. So as a leader who tends to rule a country and then tends to make an illegal option a legal option for these people, it goes a long way to ask whether if in the next government of the NDC there's no thought of providing jobs for the youth, or there is a progressive agenda, as they always say, to start from somewhere and end at somewhere. Are they trying to say legalization of Okada will just be for some time and then create proper jobs for our youth, or legalizing it would be forever and then leave them to the motorcycles forever and ever? Because I feel Okada or commercial motorcycle is probably would be fast but not safe for the citizens in the country, and then losing a citizen also decreases productivity in the country. So basing my statements on the NDC manifesto, says they are promising the legalization of Okada. I feel personally, I feel the country has gotten to a point where Okada can be legalized and regulated as well. But like I said earlier, basing on the NDC's manifesto, they have promised to reintroduce police visibility at various vantage points of our roads in the country. So we all know the major problem of our Okada riders or our motorcycle riders is flouting or ignoring the red lights and then our traffic regulations in the country, and then having police visibility at various vantage points. I feel these measures put in place will serve as a check to these motor riders or motorcycle riders. And also on the issue of theft with motorcycles has been with us for quite some time. I'm not accepting it as a good practice, but theft with motorcycles are probably different from Okada. Okada is actually commercializing motorcycle transportation or motor transit from a point to another point. So for the issue of theft, I feel enhancing the police service would help better address such issues, and also
light regulation. Whilst the cars are on stop for seeing the red, the cars they ignore this and they move on. Here and there, accidents causing, yes. But to my discretion and to my opinion, I do think the regulation for the car business would be of help.
Finally touch on this salvage cars, the salvage cars saga, because this has also been one of the key areas for discussion, especially in the political field, where now the former president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is making claims that the NPP is now working with their manifesto. So I want to see how true it is, because the new patriotic party's current government said that they are going to ban importation of salvage cars into the country from 1st November 2020, and as it stands now, this law has been revised. So gentlemen, do you think that the call to revoke this law is a political action? Do you think that the call to revoke this, so that doesn't mean that we just want to vote, because looking at the dealers of salvage cars, people that deal with second-hand cars are more. So when one government said that I'm going to ban it, and as they are agitating and then they are going on demonstration and sharing their views everywhere, and another government saying that when I come, I will not ban it, you can still import salvage cars. So is this action political influence? So immediately one party heard that, hey, another party said that they are going to release, they are not going to ban salvage cars when elected into power. Then we said that let's up our game. So let us quickly revise this decision we have made. So this decision of not banning the salvage cars again, is this a political action?
Of the savage cars, the issue of the savage cars, yes, it is very, very, very political. You see, in this era or in this modern world, or there is nothing that has nothing to do with politics. Everything is influenced by politics. Everything is influenced by individual. That's why Aristotle once said, we are politically animal. So even the priest cannot do without politics. His decision making is also influenced by a party or some way politics. And I do hope and believe that this savage cars, yes, it is strongly and strictly political. Yes.
Good points raised there. Like I always say, we're hoping for the best for our country. But then, before we leave here, do you think that would the NPP revisit this policy after they maintain their political seat? Do you think that the current government will revisit their decision after they retain their seat? Do you think that the ban will be revisited again after they retain their seat?
They do not visit the policy now as it stands, and election is being conducted and they do come back into power for a second time. I don't think the MPP would revisit such a policy of the savage vehicles or cars. Thank you for your time, and I am Azuri Daniel, aka 7.7 Brinking. Love you, bye. On your post.
We want to kindly acknowledge our sponsors, SD Graphics. So do you bought a flyer for all occasion? Is it a church activity, a naming ceremony, or you want to invite friends for your wedding, and then you are still looking for that special designer to design all your graphic works? Do not hesitate to call SD Graphics on 0554 312323 0554 312323. Call SD Graphics today, and then they are going to serve you best. And then do not forget that Fina Bites is also there to serve you with the best spring rolls and samosa. So for all your events, funeral, naming ceremony, outdoor, family meetings, friends gathering, do not forget to call Fina Bites for your special samosa and spring rolls on 0241 537-402-0241, 537-402, and they are going to also serve you best with the taste of better and nice samosa and spring rolls. Finally, do you wish to wire your house with an experienced electrician, or you are a church that needs enough lighting in your room, or you want to wire your store or your new apartment that you've moved into? Now call Hidahad Electricals on 054-175-1255 for all your electrical needs. They are going to serve you best. Do not call a cheap electrician, call the experienced one to serve you, especially with lighting. Thank my fine gentlemen for making time to come as well. Caleb has been a friend to us, and we hope to see you in subsequent weeks as well. Say a very big thank you to you for making time to actually view this. We are hoping to bring you more reports as the days go by, especially as we approach this year's election. Your election eye will cover you. Do not forget to follow us on Instagram at Friendsfield TV. You can also follow us on Facebook at Friendsfield TV as well. And do not forget to subscribe and hit on that bell. I remain your host, Tete Kwe. I'll be with you same time next week at exactly 5 p.m. It's a bye for now.